I will.
All right, what's up, everybody? We are live back again with episode 63 of the Super Deformed Gamescast. And as always, I am one of your hosts, John, aka at Mr. Megadev on Twitter. And as you can see below me, all the beautiful boys here, just like in Final Fantasy 15, we're all here. We're buddied up. We're ready to roll. We're ready to talk about some Resident Evil 7. What else are we talking about tonight? There's a whole bunch of shit to talk about. I want to talk some Gravity Rush 2 as well. First, we got our buddy Rand al Thor 19 back on the podcast, the man with a million gamer score. It has been too long since you have graced us with your presence, and we definitely appreciate you being on.
Well, thanks for having me again, John. I know. What made you even reach out to me? Because all of a sudden you were just like, come on the podcast Thursday. I'm like, all right, let's do this.
Honestly, dude, fuck it, why not? That's the only reason. That's the only reason I need, dude. In fact, honestly, it's a metaphor because that's the reason I started this podcast. What was
the gift I sent you? It was the you son of a bitch. You know the handshake.
Oh yeah, Doolin.
Yeah,
you son of a bitch. Yeah, I fucking that gift. That's probably
which movie was that again?
Oh, it's
Predator.
Dude, oh come on, man. That's Predator.
Nice.
It's with was it Jesse Ventura?
A terrible memory right now.
No, dude, that
former.
Was,
Jesse Ventura's in it.
Yeah.
No.
Goddamn
sexual tyrant.
Hey man, you're bleeding. I ain't got time to bleed.
Oh, great movie.
Son of a bitch dug in like an Alabama tick.
I haven't seen it in like 10 years.
Fun fact about that movie, you know that dude who stood on the bridge and like he faced off against a predator and he like cut his chest with a knife.
Yeah.
Billy, yeah, he's like, there's something in those trees. Like the actual cast, apparently he was like a fucking psychopath, and the actual cast was so terrified of him off camera that nobody would stay in the same trailer as him. Nobody wanted to hang around him after takes. Because he never, like, I guess he was just like, he was a psycho. He was always talking about killing people, and people were just like, this dude is.
I've never heard that story.
Yeah, dude, you should Google it. I can't remember his name, but Google just Billy, and the character Billy, found his name, and dude, there's all kinds of crazy shit about this guy. Like, that dude is a legit fucking psycho. That's why I love Predator, man. There's all kinds of crazy stories about that movie. But,
dear God, Jeff, what did you just tweet out?
Whoa, hold on. What am I missing? What did you tweet out?
He's on the podcast from his floor.
Well, no. So I had my second physio appointment last night, and I have to like sit on this thing for an hour every night.
So you're podcasting from like a styrofoam noodle.
Yeah, basically.
Just like laying back.
This is good stuff. I'm gonna post
a great post.
And John tweeted it out in Spanish, so we're off to a flying start here.
I don't know. For some reason, I tweeted the podcast out and it says "Inicie un transmisión en directo in YouTube." I'm like, what the fuck is going on? What's happening? Hey, Jeff, that's a great pose, man. Stretch those glutes.
Yeah.
He's out.
Well, it's for my back and shoulder, but yeah, sure, why not?
Oh my lord. Are you feeling any better? Are you feeling any better?
Me? No, hell no.
Yeah, your shoulder's pretty bad.
Yeah, I think as long as I keep playing, it'll keep getting worse. But I'm going golfing next week, so that'll help.
All this video game talk, man. That's what you get on Super Deformed.
Yeah,
just talking about all kinds of random bullshit. All right, we're gonna talk about some video games. Oh, Steve's here. Steve, what's up, dude? You made it.
Hey, what's up?
Boy.
We were literally talking about before we went live about how integral you are to the podcast. You're a core member, so I'm really glad to see you.
Oh, absolutely.
Thanks for that.
It wouldn't be super. We'd have to remove a letter if Steve ever leaves the podcast.
It would. Yeah. Well, none of us would sound intelligent.
I get to pick the letter.
Okay. Yeah. Well, anyway, here we are.
We would just be the Deformed King.
Yeah. What letter would that be? What letter?
We would be the Super Deformed. We'd be Super Deformed, but there would be no game. There's no Gamescast without Steve, so we'd just all be Super Deformed. But you are live. We are here live with Super Deformed Gamescast, and I've got all my buddies here. As I like to say, the material to my accessory slots. And these guys know just how to fill my slots up. I hope everybody's doing I know, right?
I like when you talk dirty.
I know. It's all for you, sweetheart. We are here live, and we're ready to talk about some motherfucking video games. Everybody's here, so guys. What are we playing this week? What have we been playing this week? I want to know all about it, and I want to start with JT.
Well, what have we all been playing? I think everybody here has been playing a
Except
certain game that
Jeff.
came out.
Except for Jeff.
What, Life of Black
I played
Tiger?
like 5 minutes. I got in the house.
Black Tiger.
No. And Steve has not played it. Steve
I've
has
not played it.
Yeah, okay.
Is anyone playing it in
Alert.
VR?
Oh,
I am.
JT's going to talk about that.
Yep. I'm playing Resident Evil 7 in VR. It is, in one word, it's crazy. But I will save that for a little bit later. I'll let somebody else talk about just the general game experience, and then I'll talk a little bit about VR. But
You look like a changed man. Like you look different.
it's kind of
It's because he feels like he's dying.
it has changed a little bit. You know, once you experience something like that, it really like.
It looks like he's seen things no man should have seen.
I have. It's it's definitely a crazy experience. Yeah, just if you have played Resident Evil 7, just the first hour of that will shake you up pretty good. Just imagine, you know, the things that go on, and that's scary for just playing it off of your TV with maybe some good headphones. But having that stuff come right at you, and like you physically react to what's happening in front of your face, and it's just a reaction. It's not like, oh, like, ooh, that's scary. It's like, holy shit, I'm like fearful for what's going on right now. Like there's something, I'm gonna get stabbed in the eye with this thing that's a virtual thing, but like you fear for you, like multiple times in the first hour, even despite being creeped out and everything. Like I'm just gonna pause the game and I'm gonna tweet about it for a second. But multiple times during the first hour, I was like trying to dodge the things that was happening on the screen, like in person, just because it was that freaky. It was like making me squeamish that there was like a 3D object on the screen coming at my face, and it was just it's a surreal experience. And I don't think that any other, like, playing it in VR is going to give you a different experience than playing it in just your TV.
That's because like you can like poke your head around a corner, right? And you're easy.
It's that, yeah. I mean, like the first 30, like I'm gonna spoil a little bit of the first 30 seconds or first 30 minutes of it, but like you get an axe, all right, and like you can hold up the axe, you can like block with the axe, and so like walking around with that like held up and stuff, you can like peek around and like, you know, kind of do one of these, and then like you can check corners and stuff with your axe held up. So like it's exactly what you would do in real life, right? It's like if there's somebody like in the next room, you're gonna be ready for it, and you're gonna like peek around like, okay, all right, I'm good. So then you relax and you go in, or you can like freaking like, I love how the melee combat is, because like you can like hit something and it like feels tactile, like you hit it against a door frame and it'll stop right. It's not just like a swipe.
I noticed that too. That was really cool.
You know, and that in VR especially, it feels amazing because it's like you're actually doing it. And multiple times I wanted to reach out and like touch this, like there's like the phone. I wanted to like touch the phone and like pick up the thing myself, just because it felt so real. Like, I mean, yeah, the graphics aren't as good as real life, but
is there like a really noticeable dip?
It's convincing
in visual fidelity.
If you pay attention to, like, if you can't get past like shimmering in games, like the anti-alias and stuff,
yeah,
like it's gonna take you out. But no, I mean, it's super immersive. Like, this is the best VR game I've played.
So would you say like this is like basically PSVR's killer app at the moment?
Oh yeah, for sure. More devs need to do this. Like,
whoa, killer app.
Yeah,
have you not played Battlezone? Okay.
No.
Is that VR? Is Battlezone VR?
Stop it. That's like a poor.
Because Battlezone's an awesome game.
Sorry, Resident Evil 7 is the
Battlezone is a classic.
It has such a bad name though. That makes me never want to play it.
Oh my god, that's the most generic shit I've ever heard in my life.
It came from like 1978 or 80. I don't know. It was 82 or some shit.
By the way, hi everybody. What's up?
Hi, you're late, so you don't get an introduction, fool.
So I I said I was going to talk about this later, but I'm just going to talk about it now. But like,
No, let's hear it.
I literally couldn't get past the stuff coming at you in screen, because like there's a moment where there's something coming at you with a knife, right? And like that's scary in a game whenever you're not expecting it. Like jump scare, like somebody comes out of nowhere and it's like, hey, there's a knife here in your face. But like having that in 3D, like actually popping out, feeling like that knife is going to like pierce your eyeball.
Jeez.
Like imagine your reaction to something like that. Like for the first, I was not expecting things in like 3D to like pop out and like actually be like inches, or feel like it was like inches from my face. And so it's just like you go like that at first. You're like, holy shit. You're like trying to like get away from it, and it's like you can like see it. It comes like right here, and you're like looking at it, and you're like, this is a video game.
I mean, dude, the porn applications are just mind-boggling for this.
Right.
This is insane.
That's almost why I don't want to get a PSVR.
Because you don't want a big dick right.
No, I don't want to get a PC.
So like, dude, in the first, so I won't spoil who it is for people who haven't played it, but like obviously you know what I'm talking about when you're going back down the basement stairs in the guest house, and I
didn't want to do that.
A woman is crawling up her stairs. Yeah, dude, like I know
the sounds.
Yeah.
In your head when you're doing that, you're like, oh my, I'm walking downstairs right now, and like I want to just go back the other way. Like fuck this. Like fuck this was like my most used phrase during this, and it was just like you don't want to do it. You like want to just nope, I'm done. Like I had to rip my VR headset off multiple times, just like
it's been really rough for me listening to you guys talk about it all week, because I have Resident Evil 7. It's sitting there next to my VR.
Why aren't you playing it?
Because I am a giant vagina, I guess. Because I know I will pee myself live on camera, because I will stream it.
It's not that bad, dude. It's not that bad.
Okay. I could barely play Resident Evil 4 at times. I had to stop because I got too scared.
Oh, come on.
Come on, dude. Resident Evil 4? Come on.
Look, I'm sorry. I'm telling you the truth. Horror games, I love them, but I have such a tough time getting through them because okay. Do you remember those really cheesy movies like Final Destination and like
No, I don't remember Final Destination at all.
But
that shit from my memory.
Those movies, I couldn't even watch those movies legitimately.
Those movies aren't scary at all. They're just horrible.
Hold on.
Why I haven't played it yet.
Final Destination wasn't the least bit scary. I've seen
there's nothing scary about it. It's just a big gore fest. You're just seeing all the funny ways that they can come up with.
I've seen wilted fucking lettuce that is scarier than Final Destination. I'm just pointing it out.
Those movies are intentionally ridiculous.
I'm just explaining why I haven't done it yet. There's a difference.
All right, whatever.
But I will get to it. And like I said, I will stream it because who doesn't want to hear me scream like every 10 seconds?
Well,
you're gonna do it in VR.
If you
Nice.
if you are like squeamish about stuff like that, it will definitely shake you up pretty bad. Because like the directional audio too, right, is incredible in that. Like like the people who've played it, you'll be just like walking down a hallway, and of course you're like scared because you're walking down and like lights are flickering and stuff. But then like you hear like a boom upstairs. And like if you're playing with headphones, you kind of get what I'm saying. But like the directional audio with PSVR, you're like you turn and you're like, what the fuck was that? Like it sounded like somebody's like like right on the next wall, just like boom, and it just like it creeps you out. It gives you that reaction.
The game actually, well, dude, the game actually does sound very well. Sound mixing in the game is phenomenal. Just absolutely fucking phenomenal. I want to, JT, you finished it, right?
What?
Resident Evil 7. Have you finished it?
No. I took my time. Like playing VR, like I'm taking my time with it just because like you want to like sit there and like just like look at things. Like you like hold like the pictures and stuff that you can like find. You can like move way in and like look at all the details and stuff. Like there's like that driver's license like before you even go in the house. And I was like reading the text on there because like I zoomed way in, and like I even like closed one eye so I could like focus better, and it works just like real life where you can.
God, this is really making me want to fucking go out and get a PSVR. Like I'm not even gonna lie.
I mean,
can't find one.
Resident Evil 7 on VR, and I will say this for everybody, is something you got to try, at least try. I mean, it may not be for everybody to do a full playthrough like that, but experiencing something like the first battle scene or like the first enemy encounter is something that everybody should have as their first like entry into VR, just to see how immersive and crazy it gets.
Does it lose its edge after the first hour like that, or is that just the same experience the whole time?
I'm not sure because I've only played probably a couple hours in it, and I've just been taking my time with it, so it hasn't like lost the appeal for me. But it's something that you don't want to just like rush through. You can't do like speed runs or whatever, like Resident Evil lends itself to, I hear.
Yeah.
But it's a more of a cool experience than it is like a mainstream game. But like I love that about it, is because like you can play it like you would any other game, or you can play it in VR mode where you like take your time with it, and it's like really immersive.
It sounds awesome.
Cool.
So
it is. Go ahead.
JT, what like control scheme are you using? Because I know they got that like 30 degrees.
Okay, yeah. So at first like that pissed me off a lot. So like they start you out with a mode where the analog stick turns your view, like it snaps it real fast, so it's like less dizzying. It like makes the motion sickness less prevalent for you.
Yeah.
Or you have like graduations of like 30, 45, and 90. Like if you flip the right stick, you'll like snap to that
So it's almost like a mist or something where you're like switching.
Yeah, and that frustrated me because like I couldn't like, whenever you are like walking and you turn your head, like there becomes like a disconnect with like the stick and your head. You're just still going one way, but you're looking this way, and that is what gives me the most motion sickness. So what I did is I changed it to free camera, where it's just like your normal, analog stick, like any other first-person shooter. And what it does is, if you hold forward on the stick, wherever you aim your head is where you walk, no matter what you're doing. Like if you're holding forward on the movement stick, the left stick, you can like walk that way if you're like looking this way, and just like move wherever. And then if you need to make adjustments to like, okay, like I'm walking forward, I'm looking this way, I move the right stick over just a little bit so that I'm like centered now walking this way. So it's like really intuitive. I'll like turn this way, and it's cool. Like if my view is going at 30 or 45 degrees at a time, like that's just like really, it's frustrating because you're like, I want to be here, but then like I need to be over here. So you're like boom, boom, and then you have to like look back and then like readjusting. And so it just didn't feel very natural to me, So
JT, did you ever play the PlayStation VR demo, The Kitchen, that was supposedly a demo for Resident Evil 7 before anyone knew about it?
No.
It's so fucking crazy how Kitchen, like, Kitchen was a thing and everybody's all terrified of it, and it ended up being part of Resident Evil 7.
I mean, you remember my reaction at E3.
Oh, dude, that was priceless. I didn't 30 minutes later, Brandon's like, I'm not even paying attention to any of this.
My mind was pretty fucking blown by that reveal.
I was asked because I managed to get through that demo, and I was okay-ish. So if you could compare it to that demo, I would know how much I could handle Resident Evil 7.
Yes, I did play through The Kitchen. I thought you were asking if I played through it in VR. I think you'll be all right if you can handle that. Like the game kind of does this cool thing where it like starts you out in stuff that you may have seen before, or like in trailers or the demo, and then it kind of switches it up a little bit on you, so that it's something new.
I mean,
gradually.
I'll say this much, and then I want to throw it to somebody else.
I'll stop talking so everybody else can.
No, dude, you're fine. I want to hear your fucking VR impressions, because you're the only person on the podcast who's played it in VR, and what you've said actually lines up with a lot of what I've seen on GAF, for example. I mean, people are gushing on GAF over RE7 on VR. Everybody seems to say, "Oh, this is immersive. It's fucking incredible. It's scary. It's terrifying." There's actually a PSVR sitting at my Best Buy right now. There's two of them stacked on top of each other. I was just there today, and I'm like, Nintendo Switch, PSVR.
I mean, I would have to get a camera with it too.
Yeah, see, that's the thing. I don't have a camera anymore, so
The launch bundle was like the best value, but yeah, like buying everything piecemeal now, it's just.
I want to ask Rand real quick. Rand, have you played Resident Evil 7? You're playing it, right?
I'm on my second playthrough right now.
As am I. Are you playing on Madhouse difficulty?
No, I'm speedrunning it right now on easy.
Okay, you're speedrunning. Yeah, what are your impressions of the game?
It's so my initial, like, I liked everything about the game up to a certain point, and then it kind of fizzled out for me. I don't like give spoilers, but it's maybe the final third. You'll know what I'm talking about.
I know exactly. I probably know exactly what you're talking about.
I was into the game, man. Like, I was like, because I played the demo, and the demo was different, but like I didn't. That's the only thing I've seen for any of the media for the game. So I knew nothing else besides that beginning hour demo. So like the stuff with Mia and all that stuff, like I had no clue about. So like I'm like having a lot of fun. Like I saw some like kind of like they took some stuff for Outlast, which is cool because Outlast is one of my favorite games. But the biggest takeaway for me was like even with the switch to first person, the game still feels like Resident Evil, but on a more personal level because it's such like a small enclosed space, so it feels more like a personal like story and a personal game rather than the shooty bang bang of like Resident Evil 6 or Resident Evil 5, where it was just utterly ridiculousness. All like you had a T-Rex, right, in Resident Evil 6.
Resident Evil 6 was the that was the ultimate abuse of this isn't even my final form. Like
right, so it's like. Yeah. So they have all this stupid stuff in 6 and all this stupid stuff for 5, and then you get back to the basics of this one. It's just like, here's a house, like a mansion. It pretty much is a mansion, but it's a derelict mansion, and it goes along those like tried and true Resident Evil formulas. Like you have these rooms that are locked. You go, down it's kind of like one of those like fake open world games, because like it seems big when you first start it, but then like I'm speed running it. I'm past the halfway point in an hour and 15 minutes. Like that's how like once you get like how the game works, you can just blow through it. Like once you know all the puzzles and all that stuff. Yeah, it feels so big at first though. Like when you get into that main hall the first time and you see you're like, oh my god, this is so huge. This is so awesome. Yeah. And the first time you see the mold, like the molded creatures, you're like, oh man, you hear them and they're so cool. But then it's like you realize later on, like I don't even need to fight them. You just run right past them in true Resident Evil fashion. Like save my ammo for later.
And you will need your ammo for later because some of the boss fights in the game are extremely difficult. Without spoiling what the boss fights are, there's one that I think my favorite boss fight in the entire game has, and anybody who's played it will know exactly what I'm talking about, has like some serious Evil Dead vibes going on. And that's actually what I love. That's one of the things I love about the game is the fact that like it draws from so many great horror films and horror experiences. Like there's very clear homages to Evil Dead. There's a lot of Outlast in there. There's classic Resident Evil. There's also obviously with the Baker family, you can draw a lot of Texas Chainsaw Massacre stuff there. Even stuff like Psycho, because it's strong. I don't know if you guys read the notes on the fridge, but it's strongly hinted that these people are cannibals.
Strongly hinted? It's not strongly hinted.
It's not strongly hinted. Yeah,
it's straight up a fact. Yeah.
But the game.
There's hints all over the place of that they're eating people.
In
fact, in the kitchen, there's like a note that says, okay, well, it's like this person.
Oh yeah,
age
like
52, pot roast. Yeah, like
pot roast and fucking
people,
and
man.
Shit. Yeah.
But that's when the game's at its strongest, though, is when it's dealing with the family. Like it's absolute strongest.
So I know what you're talking about. Without giving spoilers away, there's a sea change that happens about maybe 2/3 of the way through the game, and there's kind of a tone. Like I don't think it's a tonal shift so much as it is a gameplay shift, because I still found the overall tone of what you're talking about very, very unsettling. I still thought it was very creepy. I feel like the game empowers you more, obviously for reasons that I won't get into, but anybody who knows the area I'm talking about knows what I'm getting at. Obviously, the player is more empowered, and there's been a lot of hyperbole thrown around about it turns into a Call of Duty game, and that's not the case. That's not what happens. It's more of a gameplay shift than anything else, but it certainly doesn't turn into some kind of shooty bang first person shooter. But I can totally understand where the switch would be rather jarring.
I mean, it kind of feels like the same progression that RE4 goes through.
A little bit.
Yeah,
and the island at the end.
But I feel like, but I don't know, dude. Like, I feel like Resident Evil 7 is. I mean, I don't feel like 4 ever really had that slow burn horror that kind of defines old school Resident Evil. Like, I mean, Resident Evil 4 was an unsettling game, but I never found myself actually like, I was like, this is it's creepy, it's unsettling, but I'm not scared. Resident Evil 7 had me genuinely fucking terrified. I don't know about the rest of you guys. I know how JT feels because he played it.
Fuck yeah, hell yeah! Oh my god!
But
yeah, it got me quite a few times in the first time.
Which is why I'm really eager for Jeff to play it. Jeff and Steve, I really
want to play it because like games and movies don't scare me. Like not to like try and act like I'm tough.
Fucking hard ass.
I mean, you are a hard ass, dude. I'm not.
No, like I literally I haven't got a jump scare in a movie in probably like 10 years. Like, and I watch horror movies and games. I get like
scared.
I get tension and stressed over stuff, but like I don't actually I very rarely feel dread. So I want to play this.
The beginning and the middle of the game is good for dread, and it builds on that very nicely. That scene, with the feast, that's so good. Like that sold me on the game right there. I'm like, all right, like because I was liking it, but I'm like, all right, I'm taking what you're dishing out here. Like this is great.
Like I will say, PT got me. So if it's got those PT vibes.
So I don't know, dude. Like, because PT had a obviously it had a very supernatural, paranormal bent to it, and Resident Evil is more of a grounded, grounded in the sense that it's a physical threat. Well, it's a physical threat, not a supernatural one. But I will say this, and everybody who's played it, let me know if you agree with me. I feel like some of the strongest parts of the game are like, for example, when Jack Baker is chasing you.
Yeah.
Because Jack Baker is fucking terrifying.
He's a really great character.
He's a great character, and as he's you know what, he reminds me of Nemesis.
I was thinking that the whole first half. I was like, this seems. I've never played 3, but like from everything that I've heard, it sounds like the same kind of concept.
He is relentless, and he will bust through walls. He'll chase you down, and if he hasn't found you, you can hear him walking through the house, and he's yelling like Ethan, and like this really sing-songy voice, and it's and he's constantly taunting you. He's saying stuff like, "Oh boy, I can smell you, and when I find you, oh boy," and I'm like, "Oh man, this is fucking creepy as shit." And because I'm thinking to myself, like, this fucking mutant cannibal hillbilly, I don't know what he's gonna do when he finds me. Like, holy fuck! And then when he does find you, like, dude, he'll pop out of fucking nowhere. Like, I was crouched in the corner. And I was listening to his footsteps, and like the way sound plays with you, because I'm playing on my headphones, and I was like, I don't know where the fuck this asshole's at, and so I'm creeping down the hallway with my pissy little 9mm, and I'm trying to get to the saver, and so I get up, and all of a sudden he pops out right in front of me, and he goes, "There you are, son!" And I was like, "Oh shit!" And dude, Jack is fucking Jack and Marguerite both are really great characters. And especially, like, one of my favorite parts of the game was that tape where you play the tape and you're playing as a certain character, and Marguerite is hunting you throughout the level, and you have to avoid her. I found Marguerite especially just like what happens to her and what she does when you confront her and the way she changed. Oh God, no, I can't do that. Yeah, you guys know what I'm talking about.
Am I the only one that feels the game is much better when you actually play it? Play it the way they intended you to play it. And what I mean by that is like fighting all the enemies that show up instead of skipping out on them, or even exploiting their AI, because like the molded are dumb as shit. Like, you
they're stupid.
Shut a door and they won't like, and you can even do that for Jack too. Like, you can basically get through the beginning of the game for the most part, even the main hall, without really fighting anybody. But like that's how I'm playing it through on my speedrun right now. And I'm having fun doing it because I want to see how fast I can actually get through the game on easy. But like my first playthrough, first time, I was like doing exactly what I thought the developers had in mind. Like you're taking down the molded, you got to kind of screw around with your inventory to get other stuff, and you have low ammo. But then at some point I just realized that these people are just dumb, and that you can exploit their AI and not even have to fight anybody. And I don't know, like the game, like this is in the later third when I think the game kind of fizzled out for me.
Well, I'll say this much, right? Like, so I finished the game on normal, and I'm playing through Madhouse difficulty right now. And has anybody else here played through Madhouse, or has anybody attempted it?
I'm not even going to.
No, I was thinking of starting it tonight.
Okay. So here's the deal with Madhouse difficulty, right?
Let us know in chat if you have.
And let us know in chat if you guys have tried Madhouse difficulty as well. Here's the thing about Madhouse difficulty. If you have not, I've actually had several people on Twitter approach me and ask me, "Hey, John, I saw that you played and finished Resident Evil 7. Should I play on Madhouse difficulty first?" If you haven't played it, you're in chat. Absolutely fucking not. Play it on normal first. The game itself is difficult enough. It's not an easy game. You can't just breeze through the fucking game.
Well, you can't even start Madhouse first.
Yeah, you have to unlock it.
Unless you pre-ordered it. Nice job, Capcom.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but
Are you fucking kidding me?
No, that's wrong. Was
it a GameStop exclusive pre-order?
No, dude. I pre-ordered it on PlayStation Network.
I was looking at it on Amazon, and that's what it said. So I don't know.
Yeah, you can.
This is how pathetic it's gotten. Fucking pre-order to unlock difficulties.
That's pretty goddamn ridiculous.
It's the dumbest fucking shit I've ever. It's terrible.
Don't you get like a gun and stuff too? Because I pre-ordered from Best Buy. And
I don't know about a gun.
Like a survival pack.
It's like
that.
but dude, it's not. It's like a health kit and like some fucking extra ammo and.
Well, dude. Well, here's the thing. So like, I'm gonna do the hardcore. What's the name of the Nightmare or Madhouse? But here's the thing. So on my first playthrough, I found everything, all the collectibles, all the Mr. Everywheres. So you find all those things, you get a gun that I don't want to spoil anything, but you get a gun.
Yeah.
You get that gun, right? So you could start literally the beginning of the game with that gun, and it's super powerful, right? If you find also all the collectibles, you'll get like Essence of Defense and this other defense thing. If you find the files, both of those equipped, you'll take no damage from if you block an enemy's attack with left bumper, so you won't take any damage at all. And if you beat the game in under 4 hours, you get the circular saw, and you get the X-ray glasses, which acts like the psychostimulants, so you can actually see everything. So my Madhouse playthrough, I'm going to have those two things equipped, plus circular saw, plus the X-ray glasses, plus my badass weapons that I got, and I'm just going to go crazy on some folks.
All that carries over.
Yeah, it's all carries over to all the
So,
playthroughs.
all right, so I will say this. So I'm about 3 or 4 hours into Madhouse right now. First, you got to get through the I won't say who it is, but the first encounter of the game in the guest house, which on Madhouse difficulty took me an hour and a half of dying over and over and over and over. And it was fucking ridiculous. I emptied. So I had 7 rounds in the chamber and 20 rounds saved up. I scored almost all headshots, and that thing still would not go down. You know what I'm talking about. And I had to kill it with my axe. Because I was like, Jesus Christ! Madhouse difficulty so far is almost 1-hit kills. Jack Baker, when you get Jack Baker, his speed is doubled. So when he's chasing you down, he will fucking catch you. There's almost no escape from this fucking guy. And he'll grab you and he'll melee you, and there's no way to no matter what you have equipped, if he grabs you, he's gonna fucking cause damage. Now, that special gun you get after you beat it, it carries over to Madhouse difficulty, but the thing is that Jack Baker's so powerful, ammo for this thing is extremely limited, and you have to score, I did it right before I got on the podcast, you have to get 3 headshots to Jack Baker before he'll go down with that thing. Body shots won't fucking phase him. That garage fight on Madhouse is fucking insane. And the item placement in Madhouse is completely different. Like, forget what you know about the item placement from normal. All the items are in different places. So, like, I'm running for the key to the car, and it's not fucking there. I was like, oh, shit!
Is there different enemy placement, too?
There is, yep. Enemies are different.
Oh, boy.
Enemies are different. They're more plentiful. They're faster. The molded are, like, twice as fast.
Is the key to the car still somewhere, though?
It's somewhere, but you got to get a fucking lockpick. Like, it's it's legit. Don't think that just because you got all the
X-ray glasses, bro. See where everything's at.
Yeah, but you don't know what they are. And
circular saw and then block with those 2 books equipped, no damage.
I don't know, man. I've got one of those things equipped, and Jack Baker hits me once, and I'm fucking done. I'm like,
yeah, but you need both equipped to not take.
Yeah, but I will also, in true Resident Evil form, you need cassette tapes in order to save, and there's a finite amount of the game.
What?
Madhouse difficulty.
Damn, they really went all out with that.
So in Madhouse difficulty, if you and there's no checkpoints at all. Like there's no save. The only 2 checkpoints in the game for Madhouse difficulty are after you clear the guest house. There's one and one right before the final boss, and that's it. Those are the only autosave points in the entire game. So if you don't have a cassette tape, you're not saving the game. And they act just like ink ribbons from the original Resident Evil. I am 3 hours into Madhouse difficulty, and I have found 3 cassette tapes. So you have to pick and choose your battles, and you have to pick and choose when you're going to save. And like I said, like Jack Baker is so much faster that it will startle the shit out of you. Like he'll bust through that wall, and he's fucking on you like white on rice. And I was like, holy shit! Like I mean, he was on me from the, and it completely changes the game. It completely changes the game. Everything is more. There is a greater sense of urgency, and there's normal difficulty was hard. Like for me, I found it challenging, but in this, there's a real sense of dread because you can only save so many times. I mean, once you run out of cassette tapes, that's it. You're done. Like there's no more saving for you. So if you and you could potentially lose hours of gameplay if you're not judicious with when and where you're saving your game. So yeah, and yeah, it's just. It's very, very difficult. If you finish normal and you want a challenge, I highly recommend Madhouse. It really and there's 33 ancient coins as opposed to 18, and there's more items to buy. There's items in the game that are exclusive to a Madhouse difficulty. And you will fucking need them because it is legit fucking difficult. No bullshit.
Like fair difficulty though, or does it feel kind of cheap at times?
It almost felt unfair. I'm not gonna lie. When you're in the guest house and you're fighting that and you're doing that first encounter. It almost felt unfair. Like I said, dude, it took me, I mean, damn near 2 hours to clear that, to clear you know who, you know what I'm talking about. And I was like, Jesus, I was like, am I up for this? I was like, fuck. Like I spent all my ammo on headshots and it still wouldn't go down. And I had my fucking axe. So I just ran in a circle in that attic. And, the thing would come at me with the chainsaw. I would whack it once and back off real quick and run around the circle. I mean, so if you can get past that, that right there, that initial encounter will tell you whether or not this is something that you can stick with, or whether or not you're like, you know what, maybe I'll just play through again on normal, or I'll try to get more collectibles on normal or whatever. But I mean, Madhouse, do not take it lightly, no matter what kind of items you've unlocked, because it's fucking insane hard.
At least you get infinite ammo when you beat it.
You do, yeah. And then I mean, I guess everything's a cakewalk after that. But
normal sounds great for me.
Well, I want to real quick. We haven't heard much unfortunately, from Jeff and Steve because they have not played Resident Evil. And I want to know, guys. Obviously, you haven't played the game. Jeff, real quick? What have you been playing this week, man?
Like nothing. I only had I had a couple hours, and they were spent trying to get the Resident Evil to run on my PC, which
why don't you tell us about that real quick, man? You were experiencing some issues.
Yeah, I'm hesitant to call it a bad port. It seems like it runs good on a lot of systems, but there's a couple cards in particular, the 970 and the 980, and I have the 980. It seems to be all over the place. So, if I uncap the frame rate, it'll run at 120, and then it'll just dip down to 80. The drops are huge, but I was able to get it to stay mostly above 60, but just barely. And then apparently, because I haven't really played the game, when you get past the dinner scene, performance gets cut by a third. So I'm pretty sure after that I'm going to get some real bad stutter problems. And it's just every time I boot the game up, the brightness is either super bright or super dark. Even though I didn't change the brightness settings, I have to go into the options menu. And every time I back out of the options menu, the whole screen flickers black. I don't have HDR on or anything, so it's not bad. And every time I boot it up, the resolution is set differently. Sometimes it's at a weird 1700 by 1320. And then I boot it back up again, and it's different. And I tried hooking it up to my TV to play on my big screen, and it would only let me select 29 hertz. So the VSync, everything's just fucked. I'm having no. Yeah, I only played for 5 minutes, and 2 minutes, and the audio just cut out, and not just from the game, my whole computer audio. Yeah, so I don't know, but I feel I've been in the PC performance threads. People are having stutter issues, but I haven't seen anyone with these weird problems, so maybe I'm just having bad luck. But I'm fuck it, I'm done with it. I'm just gonna buy it on PS4 and just eat my loss. So whatever.
Why don't
Hopefully
you
it's
try and
good.
get a refund? Did you do that yet?
No, I'm broke, so I got seduced by one of the cheaper sites, and I can't. Yeah, I bought a
Oh.
key, so I can't refund it.
Yeah,
Send it
that's
back
right.
to Steam.
I
So
forgot. Sorry.
yeah, learned my lesson.
That fucking sucks, man. And,
Oh well.
well, I mean, you'll play it eventually. I mean, you were looking for a physical copy today, but I guess you couldn't find one, yeah?
Yeah, I'm sure they're around. I stopped at the two Best Buys that are on my way home from work. Maybe on the weekend I'll try and get out to an EB Games or something.
I mean,
and grab one.
It's anecdotal, but I guess that's a good sign that the game is selling well. Maybe, hopefully. It deserves
Yeah, well, I
to.
just saw there's just a thread on Gaff. It sold 2.5 million already.
No shit,
and
dude.
they're
Nice.
expecting to sell 4 by the end of March. So
Damn,
that seems pretty
son.
good to me.
Not bad, man. I mean, it's deserved because I feel like this has made Resident Evil relevant again. You know, like I had.
Didn't Resident Evil 6 sell a shitload of copies though? Like,
It did.
the
Well, like,
last-
initially it did, but it didn't fall off a cliff really fucking quickly. Like once people realized
They
that it was,
shipped 4.5 million the first week of Resident Evil 6.
yeah.
And you know what's funny? That game it was at like 75 on Metacritic. Just goes to show you how much
it wasn't
harder
even that.
people rate.
There's no way it
this
was that
gen.
high.
no, dude, it
No,
was
it's
like
lower than that.
Look,
It's like a
70
16 on
to
it.
75.
Oh man.
And it's
Well-
funny because the re-release, they released it. It's at 60. So it just goes to show you that the reviewers are rating games harder this gen than they
Yeah.
definitely were
Oh,
For
last
sure
gen.
they are.
Yeah.
I would bet you the budget for 7 is way smaller.
And I didn't like Resident Evil 5 very much, and that game's like an 84 on Metacritic.
It's a 67.
I was not a fan of
Seven.
5 either. 5 and 6, just
What,
I
Resident
enjoyed 5. I liked 5.
The Metascore for Resident Evil 6 for 360 is 67.
I knew it was lower. I thought it was lower. than
I
75.
literally-
Five had the multiplayer, right? Online.
I don't
I'm
know.
looking at it right now. What the?
But we looked. I looked at it on Monday when we did our podcast.
They
and it
Metacritic
said
stuff because different
74.
platforms have different Metacritics, so you might have been looking at a different platform, PC or
The PS3,
Oh.
the PS3 is 74, but
maybe
it
that
has,
was
it
maybe that
has
was
why I
half,
saw that.
but it has
Open
half
critic.
as many reviews. The thing is, it has half as many reviews as the 360.
That's why you shouldn't
I
use
mean-
Metacritic.
No, you really
Yeah,
should.
basically, you just shouldn't.
You should use OpenCritic, where you can find all of SDGC's reviews on
Exactly.
OpenCritic. That's why you should use OpenCritic. Also, because it's better than Metacritic, and they don't weigh because Metacritic weighs scores based on outlet. So, like,
Yeah.
a review
Like, IGN is the
will,
best.
yeah, IGN will have a higher weight than some other, and it's stupid. It doesn't.
Can I-
And
can I ask you a
OpenCritic
question?
has a dark theme, and the white theme on Metacritic, it just blinds you, man.
What
Let
was
me
that,
ask
man?
you guys a question. I want to ask you guys a question. Does anybody else played Resident Evil 7? Do you think the main character is as bad as I do? Like,
I think he's less bad and more just kind of
I think he's just
like
yeah.
I didn't even really think about it until somebody said anything because he's just kind of there. Like
right? Well, that's
The
what I
fact
mean.
is,
Like the
the
family's
other
so
one-
good.
Yeah.
But and like his dialogue is so piss poor. It's like and what he says and what he does. If you were in that situation, you know, like when he goes to get Mia and she's like locked up in a fucking horror dungeon, he's just like, "Hi, babe, here.
I've read some
Let's go."
pretty,
I'm like, what?
I've read some pretty convincing theories as to why that is, that he's kind of like to it all, but like outside of those things, just to like at face value of what we see in the game, yeah, he is kind of just like, all right, well, some crazy shit's happening now.
And like that's the weird thing too, right? Because like yes, I know exactly. I agree. There are situations in the game where I'd be like, I would have already died of fright, and he's like, what the fuck is this?
Just
But
like
then there's
Evil Within.
yeah, just like the Evil Within, dude. But then there's one part when you're like sliding through the walls and like some centipedes fall down. He goes, "Oh fuck," and I'm like, "That's it? Like that's what it took to make you fucking terrified? Was some fucking bugs? There's fucking mold creatures running around and a cannibal hillbilly after you, and you're like, I gotta get away from this guy, and some fucking bugs for freaking like, dude, are you serious?" I feel like he's meant more to be like an avatar for the player, but in that case, why not just make him a silent protagonist? You know, like 'cause he might as well be. Because he's just a blank slate character, and that is the one that like I don't have many criticisms of the game. It's my favorite Resident Evil. I like it slightly better than 4. I mean, it's a toss between
You're
stuff.
fucking crazy.
No, that's just the way I feel, dude.
Slightly better than 4. Whoa! What?
Atmosphere, dude. Here's the thing. You have to think about Resident Evil 4, right? It's still a great game. It was fucking phenomenal in its time, but I mean, it's massively outdated today.
Yeah,
right?
but it
Like but it's still great. It's still a great fucking game.
No, I disagree that it's outdated. I played through it again just a couple months ago.
But dude, you can't even move and shoot.
Mechanically, yeah, it's outdated. But like, you talking about atmosphere? Like, I think it still holds up.
No, I'm not talking about atmosphere. I mean, Resident Evil 4 nails atmosphere, but if you think about it, Leon Kennedy's little one-liners and quips, they're not that much different than Ethan's. I mean, he doesn't seem incredibly affected by the things around him. You know, it would make more sense if Ethan were, because Ethan is just this fucking everyman. He's a fucking douchebag. He's just some dude in a fucking button-down shirt who went looking for his wife. And I don't know why the fuck you're wearing that when you're tromping around the swamps of Louisiana looking for your wife. But I'm like, dude, that's the first thing I thought. Like, he got out of the car, you get that first-person mode, you're looking down at your shirt, and I was like, you're in a swamp, dude. You're a little overdressed, don't you think? But all right, you look your best, I guess. But Leon, I mean, Leon does the same thing. You know, Leon! I can't, Leon. But I can't imagine. I mean, I can't think of a single instance where Leon expressed a single drop of fear throughout the entire playthrough. You know, and. You know, so I mean, Resident Evil 4 is still a fucking classic, but you have to. I mean, you have to consider how it holds up against games today, and you know, and like I said, like it's a toss-up between Resident Evil 4 and 7 for me, honestly. They're both phenomenal games, and I think they're both. I think both represent the best of what the series has to offer, and that's the best way I can put it. What's that?
Agree with that.
Yeah, I mean, Resident Evil 4 nails the. I mean, there's just something about Resident Evil 4 that keeps drawing me back to it. I mean, I don't know. Maybe Final Fantasy 6 is Final Fantasy 6 and Uncharted 2 are probably the only other games I have played and finished as much as I have Resident Evil 4. I mean, I must have finished Resident Evil 4 15 fucking times. I mean, it's an eminently replayable game. And will Resident Evil 7? I think Resident Evil 7 will be remembered for what it does to the series now, much in the same vein that Resident Evil 4 did, and that 4 completely changed the game and flipped the script and revolutionized the way we look at Resident Evil. And I think 7 is going to do. I think 7 will ultimately be remembered as kind of doing the same thing for the series. I don't know what you guys think, but that's just my opinion.
What about?
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna say, what about the other kind of problem I have with the game? Well, it's like a singular problem, but the choice that you make doesn't really seem like a choice, right? Like, why would you even choose the other option? It didn't make any sense to me.
I know what you're talking about, because video games and multiple endings. That's why.
I feel like that was an attempt to twist scenario thing.
Like, I just don't think in there's any scenario you would pick the other option, like, at all. I don't know, just to see a different ending, like you said, maybe, but.
That's why, because video games, because you need to. I mean, you need a reason to replay it, right?
Yeah, but they have the unlockables for all the different types of stuff and collectibles, and you know.
I don't know. I guess to shake things up, it wasn't odd. I mean, for me, the choice was obvious. I was like,
I think it's obvious for like 99% of the people.
Yeah, I was like, why would I pick option B? Like, that doesn't make any sense.
Like, what? You know, why?
This is the whole reason I'm here. I mean, it's why would I do this? You know, but it doesn't. Yeah, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. But I think it's more of a video gamey reason than anything else. I'm going to pick option B on my Madhouse. I'm Canadian now. I'm going to pick option. I'm going to pick option B on my Madhouse playthrough just because I want the trophy. But that's it, really. Steve, we totally fucking passed over Steve, and Steve's been super quiet because he hasn't played Resident Evil. Steve, what are you playing this week?
I'm playing the opposite of Resident Evil, which is South Park: The Stick of Truth.
Yeah.
I pre-ordered Fractured But Whole, and you get that for free. So I'm playing through it. I never played through it before.
I should do that.
It's really fun.
Dude, with your cold, you sound like fucking Batman.
Yeah, I have to apologize for that.
No, don't apologize. It sounds awesome.
No, don't apologize. I want you to like scratch it up a little bit and say it's not who I am underneath, but what I do that defines me.
I could end the podcast that way. But yeah, I've played some Paragon as well. It's listed as a beta, but I think I played it about a month ago. If you shelled out some money, they were going to let you play it. It's a MOBA, and it's got a little bit better graphics than most of the other MOBAs on the PlayStation Store. So it's worth playing. It's
Paragon actually got like a. Are you playing on Pro or regular PS4, Steve?
Just regular PS4, but the graphics.
I was gonna say, yeah, that was one of the games that got the biggest upgrade with Pro. It got like better resolution, hugely improved textures and stuff. Like they put a lot of effort into that game. I've heard good things.
it's a lot of fun to play. Compared to other MOBAs, there aren't as many characters, but you could see that quickly getting rectified once it's out. And they usually update that content for free. They have kind of a pay-to-win model on there, but it seems like everything you can buy, you can get in the game by earning it. So I'm okay with that model. And it's pretty fun running around. But
the first time I tried that game out, it was super frustrating. It was very unclear of how the systems worked. I heard they have like updated it since then to where they got like a better in-game tutorial that teach you how like the cards and everything work.
Yeah, that and Warframe, both of them I downloaded and tried out a long time ago, and both of them I was like, I don't know what I'm doing.
I couldn't. Warframe didn't speak to me at all. At all. That game did nothing for me.
Warframe's combat is super awesome, but the like the menu system and like the hub spaceship thing is they don't explain it very well. It's cool once you like understand what's going on. Like the core gameplay is awesome and like upgrading your materials and all that, but like, man, those free-to-play games could use like an in-depth tutorial on like how to tell you exactly what to do to like upgrade your rifles or whatever, because it's like very obtuse.
I'd have the same complaint about Warframe, but for Paragon, I think it's just something you need to give a little more time to. It's pretty straightforward, it seems anyway. But I haven't played every character just yet. It seems like there could be some balancing issues as well, but it's pretty fun. And just like any other MOBA, I mean, if you haven't played a MOBA before, you will hate it. You just have to ease into it. Don't chase down the characters.
Really? Because it was marketed as like the MOBA to change your mind. Remember PSX?
Yeah, I remember
2 years ago. Like that was the big thing about it. It's like the guy actually that was on stage. He like went on record as saying, "It's like if you hate MOBAs, this is the one like to get you into because it's like more actiony or whatever."
I'd say probably the abilities and the graphics can speak to that, but as far as the problem with MOBAs where the guy's at like 2% health and you're trying to chase him down and you go from 30% to 0, MOBAs will punish you for being too greedy. So it's much the same in Paragon. I played a little bit of The Fall, which is an old game, but I saw it on the PlayStation Store at a discount, so I picked it up. And have any of you guys played that?
The Fall.
The Fall is awesome.
Yeah, I've played a little bit of it.
It's a 2D shooter, and it's set in the future. You're a suit that's exhibiting some general intelligence.
I love you saying you're a suit. You're just a suit.
So if you've played a game wherein you're a suit, that was probably The Fall. If you're trying to remember it, but no, you're exhibiting some general intelligence, and you're trying to get the person that's inside the suit who's hurt and unconscious to some kind of medical aid, and you have to protect them in the process and violate some protocols. It's an interesting play on what's a very interesting theme, the limits of general intelligence and what that means morally when that shows up in society. And similar to Soma, it's I think somewhat thought-provoking, especially for a 2D game that's like $7.
Oh, Soma will fucking stick with you for months.
It's not as thought-provoking as Soma, but this will stay with you in a similar way. I also platinumed Final Fantasy 15.
There you
Damn,
go.
son.
My boy. There you go. Well done.
Good times.
What a great
Go back to The Fall real quick. The dialogue in that is awesome. It's really funny, tongue-in-cheek, but also it's like kind of, like you said, thought-provoking. It's like, this is really cool. And yeah, it is surprising coming from like a smaller indie game. It's like, this is really cool, actually. It was surprising.
Wow, the nuance.
Yeah.
So, yeah, to quote, it's a good Fall reference. But yeah, it was very good. And I'm looking forward to Resident Evil, but I haven't made taken the plunge yet because I'm thinking about picking up VR before I do it.
That's an expensive investment, man. Do you have a PS camera?
Yep.
Okay. I think it's ready to go then. But
I'd say buying a PSVR just for Resident Evil is a little overkill. But if there's other things that interest you about it, then absolutely go for it. And Resident Evil will be your killer app because it's that immersive and that cool. But if you're
I was already on the fence, and it's actually all your fault because back when you were talking about driving games, I'm like, man, that sounds awesome.
Oh, yeah. Resident Evil got me to hook up my PSVR again after moving. Like, I just sat there in the box after I got it, and then, like, the next day I had to, like, pack it because we moved, like 3 days later, back last year. So I just got it out again. I need to get back to Drive Club because that was such a cool experience.
I actually want to ask you guys a question about PSVR here in a second. But real quick, I want to ask everybody. Aside from Rand, as I know Rand doesn't own a PS4 yet. You will someday. But he doesn't own one yet. But has anybody else played Gravity Rush 2?
Nah.
Oh, dude, it's so fucking good.
I want to. It's on my list. It's at the top.
Dude, it is so good.
Wait, Yakuza was.
Dude,
It depends on my mood.
there are so
I want
many
everything,
games at the top of Jeff's list right now. Jeff is starting to exhibit JT syndrome.
Juggling all the games.
Okay, I know it's number 2. I've already got Resident Evil, then Yakuza, then Gravity Rush, then maybe Neo, then Mass Effect, Ghost Recon.
Gravity Rush 2 is like, coming off of Gravity Rush for the Vita and then Gravity Rush Remastered, like the first thing you notice about Gravity Rush 2 are the visuals, which are just fucking jaw-dropping. This is one of the most beautiful, well-animated games I've ever played in my life. It's like playing a Japanese anime. I mean, it's just fucking amazing. I'm not an anime guy, but it looks and moves just phenomenally. Kat is, just a very engaging character. She's a lot of fun to play as. I maintain that the traversal system in Gravity Rush 2 is probably my favorite in any open world superhero game, because that's what it is. It's basically a superhero game. But the general premise is, you hit R1 and you float, and then and then you start falling. You're not flying, but you're falling in whatever direction you're going because you're shifting gravity.
Falling with style.
You're falling with style. That's a great way to put it, man.
No one got that. That's okay.
The combat is just, combat it's simple but effective. I will say that in order to properly understand the story, you really probably should play through Gravity Rush Remastered if you haven't, because there's no exposition given. I mean, you wake up and you're starting, and the game involves characters and makes allusions to events that happened that if you haven't played Gravity Rush, the original, you're not going to understand what's going on. So I can see that frustrating people, and if you haven't played it, you'll definitely need to either play it or just read up on what the story is, and that's frustrating. Nobody really wants to do that. So I would highly recommend it if you are thinking about picking up Gravity Rush 2, you go and play the original first, because it's still a great game. But play it on PS4. I hate to leave Vita Island for a minute, but if you have the choice, play it on PS4, because it's just a better game on PS4.
See, I don't know. Like, I played the demo. I played the demo of Gravity Rush 2. Okay, I'm doing kind of like a Trump thing with this.
No, let's hear it. Let's hear it, Dom.
No, like, I love the fact that you can change the way that you're facing with the Vita, and you turn the entire thing, and that's like that is your plane for turning. It just felt, after playing it on Vita, playing the first one on Vita, and then playing the Gravity Rush 2 demo, it felt very odd moving the screen with a stick. And I know you can do it with the controller, but it's just not the same as like having the screen and your movement be one-to-one. You know what I'm saying?
I know what you're saying, but dude, here's the thing about Gravity Rush 2 that I didn't mention, and this would be amazing for VR. Like, dude, so I didn't realize this until recently, but if you hit left on the D-pad, you can play the entire game in first person.
Really?
The entire fucking game, yep. So you're soaring through the air, you're falling down, and you can do it all in first person.
That would be pretty baller.
Puke City.
Dude, like, literally the first thing I thought was, I was like, this would be amazing in VR. Like I and now whenever I float, and you can do the combat in first person. You can do the exploration of first person. Obviously, you're doing your falling and you're flying or whatever. All that's in first person. And now whenever I'm soaring through the air, I just switch to first person. And it changes, and like just the act of doing that changes it from I'm watching Kat fall through midair to I'm there and I can see the wind passing through the screen. And I thought to myself, this is why, and this is kind of segueing into what I wanted to ask you guys, is that I can see there are so many applications for PSVR, and I don't think they're being utilized properly. And I feel like, the thing's been out since last September, and Resident Evil 7 is really the first killer app that this peripheral has. It's hard to find. I know they're having production issues with something to do with the lens. It's difficult to manufacture the actual lens. But a lot of people have been talking about this. And I wanted to ask you guys as a group: is this thing like Sony? I'm not going to say Sony put all their eggs in the VR basket, because they didn't. Like, Sony's got plenty of other stuff, and the Vita failed. It failed because Sony allowed it to fail. Let's be honest. But I feel like they're still invested in PSVR. I feel like this thing still has a ton of potential that is not being realized. I wanted to see what you guys feel like the future for VR is, because aside from Resident Evil 7, like what else is on the horizon for PSVR? I can't really think of a single. Yeah, but when is that coming out though?
2017.
I feel like yeah, we'll see.
Question mark.
I feel like that's it, right? Like Gran Turismo, and that's it. And I wanted to throw it out to you guys and just ask you, what's that?
Farpoint, that first person. That's
But when are these games coming out, though?
Oh, I don't know, but I know it's playable on show floors, and it was really good. But when it's coming out, I have no idea.
There are games. Ace Combat has VR support.
Yes, Ace Combat's going to be, okay, this is going to sound weird, a Resident Evil moment where just a game that doesn't have to be played in VR, but once you do, you'll be like, oh, well, this is the definitive version of that.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be like, there's never going to be a steady stream of VR releases as long as it's a niche product, which it's always going to be, or at least for the first few versions. Like, we're talking like the next 5 years. It's just until the price gets down and the tech gets better, it's not going to be mainstream. So you're not going to get steady releases every month. Like, you're going to have maybe 3 or 4 big games a year that come out for it, and then some smaller stuff, hopefully. But I think VR owners just need to accept that, and maybe it means they're not going to use it every day, but every once in a while, another game hopefully will come out and they'll break it out, and they need to slowly build that base and word of mouth, because I think the early adopters are there, and now it's up to the people that have it to try and get more into that, and they need to bring the price down, because like in Canada here, it's like to get the headset, it'd be like $700-800 for PSVR. Yep. Oculus is $1,000 and Vive is like $1,500. So,
Jeff,
crazy.
Jeff, as somebody who doesn't own PSVR, let me ask you, like, do you feel in any way, shape, or form compelled to pick up a headset? Like,
if I could afford it, yeah. Like, that's the cost of it. I believe in the technology. I believe in the experience, and I want to support it. It's just, the cost is really prohibitive. Like, how many games could I buy for $700? Like, it's probably every game this year that I'm going to buy. Or I can get PSVR and then buy like one game. Like, it's just, money's a finite resource.
Yep.
So I think that's just the big thing. They need to get that down somehow. I know, PSVR compared to its competitors and for what it offers for the price, I do think it's a good value, but it's just not approachable for a lot of people. So,
well, I hope that Resident Evil 7 kind of propels developers who are considering adding it to their games. Obviously there's going to be some games like Mass Effect Andromeda, like VR would not work in that game.
Nope.
Or if it was included in that game, it would have to be some kind of specialized experience where you're on the I forget what the equivalent of the Citadel is called right now. Shinobi's going to hate me for that, but if you're on the equivalent of the Citadel and you're like in like tending to the gardens or something. But like, I hope this, like the VR mode in Resident Evil, it gets a lot of positive buzz so that developers that are maybe considering something like that would put it in the game and get the ball rolling, because all it needs is like a couple games like Resident Evil to really for developers to invest in that. And then people are going to see the value in it, and then it'll just hopefully be a cumulative effect.
Well, all right. So I haven't heard a lot on VR from either Brandon or Matt. So I want to throw this to both you guys real quick, and then I'll move to somebody else. What do you guys think? I know Brandon. I know Rez is the reason for Brandon to buy a PSVR.
Goddamn right it is.
Let's not mince words.
Rez and Thumper.
But
Thumper. I have Thumper too.
I want to ask you guys, like, what do you guys think that Sony could do to make PSVR more mainstream? Or do you think that do you think that this is doomed to forever be like a niche, like something nice to have, something cool to have? But I mean, do you guys, like, if you guys had PSVR, would you game on it all the time? Or, I mean, would you watch movies on it? Because technically you can watch movies on it. You can.
I mean, I would. See, like, whatever. Like, my life is Overwatch, so no. But in a world where I wasn't like completely addicted to Overwatch, yes, I would actually play games on it all the time.
But you can view Overwatch moving art in it.
Wow.
Does that compel you?
But really, honestly, it's a price thing. Because like, if I could get in for the full thing for like $300, I would do it. I mean, come on, we're talking about it's 500 plus, like, no.
And then the accessories, like you need the move controllers and exactly. And you just know there's going to be a better version or a price drop. Like that's that's always hanging over your head, right?
That's kind of the big issue for me. Is I was at Best Buy. Well, you guys remember I sent you a DM. And Jeff, you're the one who told me. Jeff made a great point in the SDGC DM. I was standing in front of a PSVR unit in Best Buy. There was two of them. I couldn't believe it. They're still there. I went there today and they're still there. But I guess out in bumfuck Egypt where I live, nobody wants PSVR. But I was sitting there looking at it, and I sent my boys here a message on DM, and I said on Twitter, and I said, hey guys, I'm right here in front of a PSVR unit. Do I cancel my Switch pre-order and go with PSVR? And Jeff said no, because he was like, think about all the awesome, first-party Nintendo games you'll be enjoying in the next 2 years, as opposed to, I'm paraphrasing here, but Jeff, you said something along the lines of, we don't even know if PSVR is going to be a thing really majorly 2 years from now. And I think that right there, I think that's the biggest.
Well, I think I said like Sony just shut down the studio that made one of their best VR games. Like
that really fucking stunned me. Like I was like, holy shit! Gorilla Cambridge is getting shut down. Wow! Like I thought Riggs was the jam. Like I thought Riggs was supposed to be like the jam, right? Like I thought
Riggs is the jam, but I guess I don't know what sales expectations they had of them.
I think it's the opposite. I don't think it was because of bad sales for Riggs. I think that studio was already marked for shutdown, and they knew their time was limited, and they were smaller, so that's why they chose to give them that VR project, because they knew the investment and the risk with that wasn't as great because they're already, their time was numbered.
That's a great point, man.
That's what I think.
But, John, when you say you wanted to ask Matt, did you mean me or Matt?
Oh, both you guys.
Okay. Because if the question is what can
I'm not prejudiced towards one man or the other. I love you guys. I love both you guys. So
well, if the question is what can they do to make it more mainstream, it's the problem VR has in general. Is that one of the biggest issues is that VR, you cannot show a trailer or a screenshot or anything like that to sell someone VR. If you do not have it on your head and are experiencing it yourself, you're never going to be sold on the concept. And so they need to just dedicate, because they'll have like a Best Buy, like, oh, today over the weekend we'll have a playthrough of it. No, they need to have dedicated kiosks in the major stores. GameStop needs to have them. Best Buy needs to have them. Walmart needs to have it.
Yep. Do you remember as a kid going to Walmart and like the controllers that are attached to the TV that you like strain your neck?
Whoa, we're getting an echo.
Yeah, we're serious feedback from somebody.
Did you hear any of that?
Yeah, I heard it. You sounded like you were in the negative zone for a minute, but please continue.
The negative zone?
The negative zone. No. When you're in the negative zone, you'll know it, sweetheart. Please.
Oh God.
It's called a profound sense of disappointment.
Jesus Christ, dude.
Wow, he had that ready.
He's been waiting to use that for weeks. Holy shit. I hope you go to bed fulfilled on a torpedo. I hope that makes you better about your life. Anyway, JT, please continue.
No, I totally agree with Finman on this. They need to get it out there to where it's more visible for like the kids who will go into a Walmart and like I did with like a GameCube or N64 controller. I guess GameCube was a little bit too far along the line, but like you're standing there and you're like, oh wow, this is awesome. Like I don't have this at home. I want this, Dad, or I want this, Mom. They need to get it out there where that people can see it, not just like, oh, you happen to be in a Best Buy at a random time on a weekend on Saturday where they're showing it off for 4 hours.
Do you remember that disc demo they did on stage? Those standing on the platforms and throwing the.
Oh God!
Yeah.
I guarantee you that's probably fun to play. That's what Finneman was saying. That's basically trying to demo VR in a nutshell. Is you can't sell it unless you let people try it.
Yeah.
That's what you get.
You guys check out that fucking typo I just had in chat.
Ridiculous.
Ridiculous success.
That's success. That talking about Kojima's studio. Have you guys seen that motherfucking thing?
Oh God! It's
Yeah.
The decadence.
It's the most Kojima I could have imagined a studio being.
I mean,
Does anyone think that was part of the deal with Sony? Like, I want the most pretentious studio ever, and Sony's like, we want you so bad. Name your price.
so I'm not gonna lie. Like, I'll tell you what. Let me ask Rand. Have you seen the pictures of Kojima's studio that were floating around today?
No, but I did see that he did say he's going to have some story reasons for why he's going to sexualize his women in his next game.
I can't. I saw that too, and I was like, man, Death Stranding is either going to be a disaster.
I like to pretend that there was a reason behind that, like it was lost in translation or something.
I mean, dude, let's not lie, dude. Let's not mince words. Like he said, look, I'm going to have women with big tits in my games,
Yeah.
but there's going to be a reason. There's going to be a reason for these big tits. And I really want to make it poignant. It's like, what do you like? So that combined with like the fucking $6 million studio that's gonna put Sony under, that they're fucking putting this guy. I mean, dude, it's like a fucking Soho cafe. I mean, I've never seen anything like that. And dude, Death Stranding better be good. Jesse made a good point. Jesse in chat, he said, I honestly think Kojima is viewed as advertisement for the platform as much as a content creator. That's right.
Mm-hmm.
I 100% agree. You know, like, I mean, what else did he say? He said, it's pretty amazing. Hopefully it's a place people enjoy working at 80 hours a week so we can get a game before 2020.
It's never happened. I think, you know what would suck is, remember that Santa Monica game that was finally canceled after years?
Yeah, it was like an open world RPG, right?
Yeah, God, what would happen if Death Stranding, like at some point in 2020, Sony goes, no, I'm sorry.
No, dude, Death Stranding's coming out. Like, it doesn't matter if it's
they put too much into that.
Truly.
Santa Monica, at least I think they had like a God of War on the side, and they could just shift everyone. Like,
if Death Stranding, like, I feel like you know what, like Kojima, like, all right, fine, Kojima doesn't make terrible games. He doesn't, right? Like people can, I mean, we can sit here and say all we want about Kojima, but the man knows how to make a game. However, I can't help but, like, this reminds me of what happened to Ion Storm back in the mid-90s with Daikatana.
Oh yeah.
Like people were putting out ads about Daikatana, and this was going to be the game that fucking blew everybody's mind. And Eidos had that ad that they put in EGM, and it said John Romero's about to make everybody his bitch. And then at the bottom it said "suck it down" with the fucking trademark. Like they felt the need to trademark like somebody was going to come in and steal the term "suck it down." Like we need to lock this down. This "suck it down" thing. We're really onto something here. And Ion Storm had these massive, like there was a skyscraper that they were in San Antonio, and like they were walking to the offices, and people were like roller skating to the office, and it was like something out of the Wolf of Wall Street, right? Like it was just excess. Like I've never seen. And Daikatana came out, and surprise, surprise, it fucking sucked. Like it's one of the worst games ever. Like I'm not saying that's going to be Death Stranding, but does anybody else feel like we're making, like Kojima and Sony are making a big fucking deal about Death Stranding when in reality it's just a video game, and it could very well be an incredibly mediocre game. Like I feel like I mean, is there even an engine for this fucking thing yet? They showed a trailer for a game with no engine.
Yeah, it's running on a modified Killzone engine, I think, actually, from Gorilla.
To answer your question, no, I have no doubt in my mind that Kojima will make a great game.
Period. Yeah, I agree. Yeah. I mean, regardless of what you think of Metal Gear Solid 5's story, in terms of gameplay and like I don't think I've ever been let down by Kojima. I didn't play Zone of the Enders. Like every Metal Gear entry for me has had new gameplay mechanics, has introduce like something new and exciting and built on the previous one. And even if it doesn't always work, he's always trying something different. And
they're interesting. Like every trailer that comes out, you're like, "What the fuck was that?" Like, and then people talk about it for.
I can't wait for the
weeks.
next Death Stranding trailer.
It's it makes you wonder which Hollywood actor they're going to get next. Although it is pretty cool that Guillermo del Toro and Mads Mikkelsen are both involved.
Yeah, and they're like bringing other people from the movie industry in. It's like that's cool.
Yeah, there's
you know?
that
Like,
rumor about Idris Elba, which I would be all for.
yeah, that's awesome. Like one of the things I
shit.
loved about Until Dawn was the fact that Hayden Panettiere and Rami Malek was in that. Like getting them involved in video games, and like every time I saw Rami Malek come on screen, like, dude, that is so cool that a likeness of somebody real is talking in my video game right now. So.
Hey, real quick, guys. Dan in chat, who, by the way, this is going to be Dan's last. I don't think he's going to be in chat for a while because Dan is going into the hospital next week.
Is that was on?
So, Dan, we love you, man, and all the best to you. We hope you're going to get better soon. We're going to be praying for your recovery, and we'll be thinking about you, man. And like I said, we got a little something on the way for you. I'm not going to tell you what it is, but I needed your hospital room number for a reason, so you can expect a gift. On our behalf at the hospital, man. So seriously,
you're gonna get one of those glitter bombs that's like spring loaded.
Yeah, not Resident Evil.
You're gonna get a visit from both Matts and Jeff shirtless,
and a copy of Battleborn.
Something you want.
A copy of Battleborn.
And I want you to know I am a snuggler, so
Oh no!
I'd be there to caress you to sleep every night.
Well, and while you're being caressed to sleep, you can also rest. You will get the first DLC code for Duke in Battleborn. So he'll be an exclusive character for you. No, but seriously, man, we have something really cool planned for you. So be on the lookout for that. But I wanted to add real quick. I wanted to ask Rand something. So the rumor is, Rand, is that VR there's not going to be a VR platform on Scorpio anymore. Like something got removed from their website. Can you elaborate?
No.
So
not true.
Okay, so what's the deal with that, man? Because you
it'll still support VR. I think this goes to your whole talk I was listening to, but the biggest problem with VR will be, and is basically the price of the system. I mean, I get the whole you need to demo this and people need to try it out, and that is an issue, but the real issue at the end of the day is the price. $400, $500, $600 for that stuff is way too much for anything that isn't a console itself. Because number one, you don't even I could go get VR tomorrow without trying it out, and I could be violently ill because my body may not be able to take that. I know a couple of people who have had that experience, and it doesn't really have any games that are worthwhile playing. Like most of the games on VR are mini game compilations and stuff like that. And that's fine because VR is not supposed to replace gaming. It's just kind of supposed to be another way to play. But the problem is developers aren't going to make games for VR if there's not an audience there who's buying VR. So it's kind of like chicken egg and the egg thing here. Like there needs to be software for VR so people can buy it, but people aren't buying it, so there won't be software. They're in a slippery slope. That VR needs to get to $200. Needs to get to $200 incredibly quick.
To jump in on what Rand's saying, that's why I think that's where the hardware manufacturers have that responsibility. Like Sony, if they're not going to get Naughty Dog to make a VR game, then they need to be funding VR games from other developers. Like these hardware, if they want to sell their hardware and build that base and have it succeed, then they need to give. Because I don't blame developers if there's not an audience. Why should they make for it? So. They need to be reaching out to them and being like, what do you guys need to make VR games for this system, and really work with them to get compelling content on it, because everyone's going to fail otherwise.
I feel like this is just something that's going to take time. I mean, you guys and Jeff alluded to it. The innovation curve, the Rogers adoption curve suggests that there's always going to be this period where innovators, and this is really the numbers we're talking about, that less than 3% of people who are in this market that are playing with this stuff, and early adopters need to be won over. And from just listening to JT or some other people talk about VR, people are being won over by the experiences. and not just in gaming, because there's some media that's been put out that people are just raving about. People like I think the guy's name is Chris Milk put out a movie where you could walk through a Syrian refugee camp.
That's fucking
in VR.
insane.
So I mean, everything needs to catch up, but it's just going to take time. And I think this will find a home. Whether or not it's consistently in console gaming will be another question. But at least in PC gaming, there'll be a lot of applications for this. And then all the other things that people are going to be able to use this for experiencing media and maybe some other life experiences, such as like preparing for college or getting ready to move or go to a new job. I mean, this kind of stuff, or a hospital, or potentially conducting virtual meetings. This stuff's going to be really interesting. So, I'd say it's just going to take time. There's no formula that leads to its failure.
Yeah, but I mean, time only goes so far. Like, if nobody buys it next year, I mean, it doesn't matter. Like, at some point, it's going to get labeled a failure, and people will stop making games for it, and then Sony will stop making headsets. I mean, they're just not going to, it needs to be a success at some point in time. Look at, Cliffy B. He put out a tweet a few days ago, and this is a guy who was in on ground floor on VR. If you guys remember, he heavily invested in Oculus Rift before it got for Facebook, and he posted, VR conundrum. Budget's not enough to make long, deep AAA single-player games. So many are party multiplayer games, but not enough installed base for that. I think people are going to start walking back VR. I mean, look at Oculus has not done very well. Rift is the most expensive one, and it's doing better than Oculus. And you have PSVR. Sony won't even talk about PSVR. That's how bad it's doing.
That's the weird.
That's in comparison.
Yeah, they won't. You don't hear a lot about PSVR.
And I know they say. I know they say.
Sounds.
I know.
Like the Vita.
I know, and I know it's because look, there's no reason to talk about it, and because it's not doing as well as the PS4 at all, so they're not going to talk about it. But I can't see a scenario where, and I know if you search around for the things, they're sold out because Sony has a problem shipping them. But I don't see the demand for the product like I do with the classic NES. Like the classic NES, you see people freaking out that they still can't buy that thing. Like people want to buy the classic NES. I don't see anybody really I want to buy the PSVR. So even if they start coming in stock more next year and the price remains at $400, I don't think it takes off. I don't think people buy it. And then you're going to have developers questioning whether they make games for it. That thing needs to be at $150 as soon as possible, because then maybe at $150 you might get people to impulse buy it like people did with Kinect.
Well, yeah, I was going to bring up Kinect.
Well, it's important to note
the
NES doesn't follow the innovation curve, and new products are always going to take this slow rollout period. But yeah, I definitely see that it's not the same problem.
Well, people aren't buying the NES Classic based on games that they played as a kid. They didn't man, I played VR as a kid and I really want one now. That's the primary thing for NES Classic. That, and it's $60. So that drives me in right there. I'm going to play games that I grew up on.
Well, Jeff, you sound like you were going to say something.
No, yeah, Rand mentioned Kinect, and I was going to bring that up earlier. That wouldn't have sold nearly as much if it was more expensive, but it hit the right price point, especially later in its life when I think, what did it start at, 150 and they dropped it to 100 eventually?
So yeah, that's right.
Something like that.
No. They say that that thing sold. It was the fastest selling consumer electronics device. It sold what was it, 10 million Kinects in 3 months or some shit. I mean, it was ridiculous, and still nobody bought software for Kinect.
Yep.
And then the suits at Microsoft were convinced that, hey, this is the future because look at all we're selling, and then they made the Xbox One based around it. We all know how that turned out.
Yeah, the VR is a way more compelling experience, and you can actually utilize it, right? The problem with Kinect is you didn't have a controller, right? So your traditional games, you couldn't just implement Kinect mode because there's no mechanism to substitute for that control. But VR it's there. It just
I think VR is too early. They came out with VR probably two years too early. Sony can't produce enough because, like John said, there's something wrong with the lens or something wrong with the headset, right? So and it's just too expensive. If they would have waited 2 years where they could easily produce these things and introduce it at a decent price point, then maybe it does take off.
I mean, I think it's a question of, but at that point, it's a question of, is it too little, too late, right? Like, I mean, because, you know, consumer interest has an expiration date, right? And people know PSVRs on the market, even though it's hard to find one. I mean, if you look hard enough, you can find one, right? Like I said, there's 2 sitting in my local Best Buy right now. Like I could go get one right now if I wanted. So, I mean, if you're looking hard, it's not like the NES Classic. Like if you really want to find a PSVR, you can find one somewhere. But at the current, like, I agree with you guys. Like, I think it needs a price drop, and I think it needs a price drop sooner rather than later. I don't want it to follow the Wii U model of, well, this thing's going to be $299 or $399 the rest of its life cycle, and that's not going to change. I think that was the dumbest thing that fucking Nintendo could have done with the Wii U. And let's face it, I heard JT mention it earlier, and you know, Sony didn't support the Vita like they should have. In fact, Sony has a history of not supporting their peripherals like they should. And my fear, and I guess maybe the one thing that keeps me from buying in on PSVR is, if I pick this thing up, is Sony going to? And I'm saying this as somebody who does 99% of his gaming on a Sony console. You know, is Sony going to continue to support this thing? If I buy in, if I invest in this, is that a wise investment? And I'm just not sure that it is.
Do you want to play Star Trek?
Bridge Command or whatever that is, or do I want to take a tour of the Enterprise? Not really, because
well, to me it's obvious. Like we know what every Sony studio is doing, and none of them are working on VR, except for Media Molecule with Dreams, if we assume that's VR. And then when that's done, Media Molecule is going to get shut down because that's going to sell like 2 copies.
Yep. And
then they got like what? Then they're doubling down on just their big AAA story-driven experiences, and that's it. Like.
So what you're saying is that Sony thought they could get on the ground floor of a potentially new thing like the Wii was, and then be sitting pretty, but maybe they realized that that's not the case, and are now kind of.
So like,
I think their hand was forced by, I mean, Oculus and Vive are out there, and they need to get in on that before they dominate the market share.
No, I think Rand's kind of got it, because they shoehorned the Move technology in with the PSVR.
That's true.
Absolutely.
You know, like they just took the lowest common denominator way of doing things.
I couldn't believe they used the exact same Move.
Me too. I was like, are you?
Yeah, they have mini USB ports instead of micro USB ports.
Yeah,
same stuff.
What is that? 2010 technology? 11?
Earlier than that, right? Like, I mean, the patents were.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess 2009, 2010, maybe 11.
And, yeah,
can you imagine a Naughty Dog VR game though?
Well, see, I see, you know,
like a full-on Naughty Dog, like fucking. What's the dude's name who runs Naughty Dog? Neil Druckmann. Like AAA experience, just exclusive, mind you, to PlayStation. You know, Sony would be behind the product if they made one of their flagship studios make an exclusive game that you can only play on PSVR.
Rand,
there's no business sense behind that, though.
Rand, that actually ties into a question. So Sammy E in chat just asked. He says, "Do you think Sony will let Naughty Dog make a VR game?" I think no. I don't. No, I don't. I agree.
Last of Us 2 PSVR exclusive.
Oh, can you imagine, dude? The Salt?
Can you imagine? You want to sell millions of PSVRs? There you go. Last of Us 2 is a PSVR exclusive.
I wouldn't buy a PSVR for Last of Us.
But I mean, of course, because it's a bad business decision, just like for Microsoft. I see people calling for Microsoft to take Minecraft away from every platform that's not Microsoft.
Microsoft,
like, that's dumb.
We like money.
Sorry, we basically print money with Minecraft, and we'll put it on every system imaginable.
Yeah,
so
if you tell us to take Minecraft off a system, we're gonna put it on 2 more systems. Like, I mean, are you fucking kidding me? And that's the thing about these that's the thing about these companies. That's why I don't understand the fucking console wars, because it's like these people don't love you. They don't, you know, they're out to make money. That's what they want. They want to make money. There's nothing wrong with that.
Chris Reyes makes a good point in chat that they are not selling PSVR at a loss.
Really? I didn't know
they're
that.
Making money.
No shit.
Whether or not they're making as much money as they would selling PS4s and then selling software from their core, you know, developers, that's not for us to know. But like, obviously, like they would dedicate more to PSVR if they were making more money with that.
They'll be able to port over some software as this stuff becomes available on mobile would-be VR platforms and on PC platforms. more content will show up. I don't think they need to go to a AAA title, especially until they get to the early majority or late majority phases of the innovation saturation. Because at 2%, there's really no big developer that should be taking that risk. Although having an option like Resident Evil did could sway people just the same. Because again, it's an experience that people in that early adopter and innovator phase will stand behind because it's so unique.
There were some developers that took a risk, like Insomniac definitely tried to thought that maybe that was the next big thing. 'Cause they've 4 VR games.
But to go back to your point where it's a PSVR exclusive, I mean, I can't see anybody doing. I agree with you that I wouldn't see anybody doing that for 2% of the market.
That's too risky. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's entirely too risky. You would think maybe the platform holder would maybe think about it if they wanted to push PSVR adoption.
I could see the benefit in slow rolling it too, because without that content there, I mean, people who have the VR already want a lot more content, and there's a good amount on the store. It seems people are slow to get that even out on the PC. People's complaint about the Vive is the same thing.
Ultimately, I think Sony's going to be happy that they invested in VR because the applications for VR extend well beyond video games. I mean, right now, I don't know if you guys know, I've mentioned this before, I think, but I mean, right now, PSVR headsets are being used to train NASA astronauts. So, I mean, there are a ton of, I mean, it's applicable. I mean, the application in science and medicine, I mean, there's all kinds of stuff, and even if it doesn't catch on in gaming, and it may very well not. I mean, it doesn't seem like it's catching on like wildfire, and who knows? But it might not ever change. But at the end of the day, 5-10 years from now, I do think Sony is going to be happy that they invested in VR simply because there are so many applications for the platform itself that extend way beyond gaming. I think gaming is probably in
5 years you'll be playing on PS5 Pro.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah,
PS5 or the Scorpio.
Yeah,
Pro.
Scorpio Plus.
Well, I could see the Sony question is different than the VR question because I think VR will become prevalent as a gaming platform, but whether or not Sony's VR headset that is not compatible, or at least to this point is not compatible with some of the PC platforms, when that goes up against, say, a Scorpio option that might be compatible with PC platforms, that's when it becomes really problematic. But that's a long-term question. I think in the short term, trying to enter a new market, they have to expect some slow growth. It's just going to take time.
See, John's question earlier about Scorpio running the high fidelity VR, I think they removed it for a couple of reasons. One, VR is nowhere near as integrated into gaming as I think everybody thought it would have been now. And two, their partnership with Oculus, Oculus turned into a dumpster fire of a company, and they may not want to associate Xbox with Oculus anymore. So maybe they've decided, and I don't think any of their third-party headsets that they unveiled at CES are going to be ready in time. So they're probably we need to back away from VR for now.
You got to think that when all that shit came out about Palmer Luckey, Mark Zuckerberg was like, "You got to be fucking kidding me, dude."
It's not even him. What about the other dude, the one that was trying to bang
the fucking pedophile? Yeah. Oh, dude, there's so much. Oculus is a fucking dumpster fire right now, man. But I want to. I think we ought to go ahead and wrap it up real quick, just because we're a little over an hour and a half. We're kind of hit our.
Nobody asked Matthew what he was playing.
You were playing whatever, man.
It's fine. Look, I just want to respond to the VR.
Okay. All right, go ahead.
Sure.
One thing, because it's honestly not that big a loss. The only people that really care are the Sony fanboys that are seeing it as a sign that the Scorpio is somehow going to suck somehow. But in reality, it's if anything, it'll free up the Scorpio to focus more on core gaming, which is what the people that were going to get a Scorpio really care about. And Microsoft is king of adding features later on through firmware updates. So if in the future they want to add VR functionality, who's to say they can't? And I think that people just need to get over it, wait for the Scorpio to be officially unveiled, and just enjoy it as the great thing that it's going to be.
I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, we'll see. But we'll go ahead and cut it off there. I think Brandon's been playing Overwatch the entire time we've been talking about PSVR.
Do I somehow?
Yeah. Brandon's passed out. Brandon's in a fucking coma. He's like, whenever we start talking about hardware, I don't give a shit.
Have him rant about Diva and the change they made.
She sucks now.
Don't even get Brandon. Dude, we'll be here for another hour if you get Brandon.
I'm not a deep player.
Overwatch.
Not a big deal to me.
Are you a fan of Hook 2.0?
Yeah.
But I loved all the fucking people upset about her Year of the Dragon costume. Like,
Yeah.
But it's like, guys, it's a glitch. Get over it. But anyway, this has been episode 63 of Super Deformed Gamescast. There's a lot to look forward to. Don't forget, guys, people in chat, people listening, that we will be at PAX East this year. Several of us, including myself. And yep, we're gonna be there. We're gonna do a live broadcast with our boys. We're gonna have some of us at PAX East that Friday, and some of us back at the homestead that Friday. We're gonna do a joint podcast live from PAX East. It's gonna be a lot of fun. We're gonna hopefully get some pretty cool interviews on the show floor, so that's gonna be cool. And I will also be joining Susan Arndt and Kyle Orland on a panel on Friday called "Hate is the Hobby," talking about hatred in the gaming community and how to combat it, and stuff like that. So it's gonna be a lot of fun. It's gonna be good. It's gonna be a great experience. Thanks everybody in chat who showed up. One more shout out to Dan. Dan Wisenhunt in chat, who's going into the hospital next week. He's gonna be there for a couple months, I understand. And all the best to you, man. Our prayers are out to you. We know you're gonna get better and come back and join us again. And also, I want to give I want to give a shout out and a congratulations to John Bain, Total Biscuit, who apparently his cancer is in remission.
No way.
And it looks like, and he's getting better. So that's always great to hear.
Awesome.
So yeah, man. Congratulations to Total Biscuit. That's always a good thing, because he was not fucking doing well.
Yeah, last I heard it was terminal. So
yeah, and now he's on the up and up, and he's going into surgery, I guess, either tomorrow or the day after. And it looks, and there's no more. I mean, the cancer isn't spreading, and now they're removing it. So now the goal for him is curing, as opposed to like waiting for the inevitable. So that's awesome, man. Great to hear that. Outstanding stuff. Am I missing anything, guys? Is there anything else coming up that we want to mention? Or I feel like there's something, but I'm just not fucking.
RE7 review will be up within the next couple days.
There you go. Yep. Maddie,
I have one. We just posted an article about the underappreciated games of 2016.
That was a great article, by the way, man.
Who wrote that one?
That was Brandon, right?
I can't.
No.
I remember.
No, Finneman. Finneman wrote it, and it's actually a great fucking article, dude. Like, seriously, there are some games in there that I was not aware of and that I'm going to check out now because I read your article on SDGC. Well, it's actually at superformgamescast.com. Don't go to sdgc.com because I have no fucking idea where that's going to take you.
I'm brave enough to find out.
Brandon's going to find out right now.
It is a technology service.
Okay, well, we're gonna put a stop to that.
Got to buy them out.
And also, Basement Radio Arcade Podcast is doing a special podcast tomorrow night at 9 Eastern. And I would like to do either a Final Fantasy 15 or a Resident Evil 7 spoiler cast during the next soonish time. So whoever wants to join me for that are more than welcome to.
Definitely up for it.
Does anybody have anything else before we get off? Anybody? Any save rounds?
I'm going back.
It was a pleasure to chat with Rand, as I've never actually spoken to him before.
It's always good to have Rand on the show, man.
Thanks for letting me hang out with you guys.
Rand is good people, man.
Yeah, really well informed guy.
Yeah. Rand is incredibly well informed and always a pleasure to have on the show. Rand's a good friend. JT has already reinserted himself into the Matrix.
I'll see you guys on the other side.
He's jacked in, as they say.
He's jacked in, as they say in the Matrix. All right, so everybody, this has been episode 63 of the Super Deformed Gamescast. As always, you guys know and we guys know, it probably doesn't need to be said, but I'm going to say it anyway. It's not always poetry, and we don't always agree, but we always keep it real. So until next week, we will see you guys on the flip side. Take it easy.
Peace.
JT waves like a goof. Jesus.
He can't see what he's doing.
I can see what he's doing. I wish I was there to like just hang my nuts in front of his face. He wouldn't even know.
Oh my.
It says we're still live.
There will be no
we're not going off the air. This train keeps
okay. Yeah, let's keep it going. Keep it going.
Yeah.
There's no stopping this fucking train, dude. There's no stopping this fucking train. I don't know. Do we keep? No, we're gonna end it. Let's end it now. See you later, guys. It's this. Eve the Dead in chat says it's the Sexcess podcast. We do everything to Sexcess. All right, guys. We'll see you later.
Bye.